There's been a great debate in our house about this for many years. Should the sweet potato casserole be topped with marshmallows or should it be topped with pecan?
Hey everybody, and welcome to our Thanksgiving special here at Grace Walk Farm. The big idea of what we wanted to do this week is we wanted to kind of bring you into our kitchen, into our home, and show you how we go about making our Thanksgiving meal, how we incorporate our herbs into our meal, and really we just wanted to spend a little bit of casual time with you. And so we're going to start off our lesson, I guess you could say, today. We're going to start with one of my favorite dishes, and I want to ask you a question. How do you prefer your sweet potato casserole? Because that's what we're starting with, is sweet potato casserole.
There's been a great debate in our house about this for many years. Should the sweet potato casserole be topped with marshmallows or should it be topped with pecan?
It should most definitely be topped with pecans.
But our kids say marshmallows.
Yeah, and so there's the great debate within the binge house.
So let us know in the comments, how do you prefer your sweet potatoes? Today, we're going to show you how to make it with pecans because it's our favorite, but also because this recipe is an old cherished family heirloom recipe. So this comes straight from my mama, who is a sweet farm wife and the best cook that I've personally ever met. And growing up, we never had Thanksgiving without her sweet potato casserole and this specific recipe. And I make it just like she did. The only thing I do a little bit different is I add cinnamon to mine and I leave out her secret ingredient.
Now, the secret ingredient for this one was surprising to me. It was coconut, shredded coconut. And it wasn't a lot, but it was just a little bit. And we don't eat a whole lot of coconut. Amber particularly doesn't care for it, so we're not going to add that in. So here's the really cool stuff. All of the recipes that we're going to be showing over the next little bit are going to be available in the description. We're not going to throw them up on the screen, and we're not going to tell you all the recipe ingredients right here, or the measurements, but we'll tell you all the ingredients. Really, we're just going to hang out and talk and have a good time and share a few stories with you.
That's right. We're making sweet potato casserole. So in my big bowl here, we have about 4 large sweet potatoes that I baked, and I have pulled them out of the peels. And that's what we start with. And to our sweet potatoes, we are going to add first some sugar. And you're going to need a pan. Here's a little hack. I don't use fancy pans for Thanksgiving because we're cooking so many dishes. Everything is going in a throwaway pan because I love myself and I don't want to do dishes after this meal.
Can I tell you a funny story? Now, there's a really good chance that my mother is going to watch this video, so she'll see this. My mother, I have seen her wash her tinfoil pans, and I always laugh at her and tell her that defeats the purpose of having tinfoil pans because that's supposed to be easy cleanup. So,
yeah,
love you, Mom.
She reuses everything. All right, so a cup of sugar going in. And then we're going to need about a cup of milk, and sometimes we end up needing a little more than that. And we're going to need 2 eggs. So I'll crack our eggs and you do the milk.
So all of the years that we have had children, this has been the favorite dish, either this or macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
This is the one that everybody goes for.
They would riot if we did not have this dish on the Thanksgiving table, I believe. All right, so we've got our milk, our eggs. Now we're going to add a little splash of vanilla extract.
A little cinnamon?
Yes, a lot of cinnamon. This is my twist. Now, when my mom makes it, she doesn't put cinnamon in hers, I don't believe.
Say when.
That's good. But I love cinnamon, and I just think it takes it up a notch. And then a little pinch of salt.
Hold your hand out.
All right. And you want it to be a good, smooth consistency, kind of like mashed potatoes. So let's get it mixed up. So our filling is mixed, and it's good and smooth and creamy. And now we're going to pour it in the bottom of a 9x13 pan. So I'm going to let you do the honors because that's a heavy bowl.
So every time we have sweet potato casserole, it's clearly a family get-together of some kind. This isn't just a dish that we make on its own. So what's when you have sweet potato casserole, what's some of the favorite memories that you have?
It always reminds me of visiting the farm where my grandparents lived on Thanksgiving. And we would get together every Thanksgiving there, and I have 3 aunts on that side, and my mama, and they can all cook. And so it was just like the meal of the year.
I can confirm. I've been there many times. Thanksgiving, Christmas, any of the holiday meals, there's always a spread at the Roberts house.
That's right. So, Mama, if you're watching this, we're making this in your honor today. Okay, so our filling's in the bottom. Now we've got to make our topping. And this is where we go with the pecans and not the marshmallows.
All right, so how many pecans would you say we've got here?
That's more than we're going to need. Let's do about half of that, and we're going to save the other half for pies, because you can't have Thanksgiving without a little pecan pie. And then we're going to add to that about half a cup of flour and a cup of brown sugar. And basically we're going to make like a crumbly topping to spread over the top. And this will sort of candy in the oven and get like bubbly and crunchy, and it's just, oh, so
it's
good.
The best thing.
So good. Okay, a cup of brown sugar. And I'll grab us a little pinch of salt, and then I also add a little cinnamon to the topping as well, because I don't think you can overdo cinnamon in this dish, especially.
That looks like about a cup to me.
That's good. We measure with our heart around here. All right, and cinnamon. And fun fact, cinnamon is an herb, and cinnamon is medicinal. So when you're reaching for cinnamon for your sweet potato casserole or your pumpkin pie or whatever you're making, you're using medicine. Cinnamon is wonderful for the stomach. It's a warming herb, and it might just help with digestion once you eat that heavy Thanksgiving meal. All right, so I'm just stirring all of those topping ingredients together, and then Josh is going to pour some melted butter in here.
About a stick of butter?
Yeah, it's a little less than a stick, and let's see what that does. You can also use just like softened butter and cut it in with a pastry knife or however you like to do it, but I have found using a little wet butter, or wet butter? Melted butter.
Wet butter.
A little melted butter makes this easier. We are having our big dinner tonight, and we're actually having a bunch of the kids from church over.
Yeah, so Thursday nights at our house are youth night for kids from church. So they're going to get Thanksgiving dinner tonight, and then we get to cook this all again next week.
Next week for the family. That's right. So I am just sprinkling this lightly on the top. You want to cover that sweet potato filling evenly. And then if you were going to make this ahead, you could cover it with some saran wrap and foil and put it in your fridge until you're ready to bake it. And then you're going to bake this at 375 for about half an hour, just until the top is kind of golden brown and bubbly.
You're melting the sugar.
Yeah. Making your crumble crispy.
Does it need to be covered when it goes in the oven?
So I leave mine uncovered because I like the top to get a little bit crunchy. Now, if you wanted to make this the true mama way, when you're making that crumble topping, you're going to add like half a cup of shredded coconut. So you could try that if you're a coconut lover. You don't really taste the coconut so much. It's just a texture
No, but
change.
I can see how it would work. All right, so like in construction, when you pour concrete, you put metal in the concrete because it helps give strength. I could see the the coconut, kind of working the same way as metal in concrete. It's holding the topping together.
Kind of makes the crust a little solid.
Stronger.
Yeah.
You know, so one of my favorite things about sweet potato casserole is about 3 or 4 days after Thanksgiving, when we still have all these leftovers, and I like to get a bowl, and I'll put all the things in the bowl and mix it up, and this is what I always put on top, so that I'm sure to get about a sweet potato every time.
With everything. All right, so there is our sweet potato casserole. I'm going to cover this up and stick it in the fridge until it's time to cook. But now we need to start working on the turkey. So let's gather some ingredients and we'll bring you back.
So this cooler right here, inside is our turkey, and our turkey has been brining for about 72 hours. I want to tell you about this cooler. I just got this thing. This thing is at least 50 years old, and I found this up at my grandmother's house. Now, my grandmother passed away about a month ago, and she was my last grandparent, and so we've been cleaning out her home, and came across this cooler. It was still in the box. It still had plastic wrapped around it. I don't know. I'm sure my grandpa bought it. And anyway, it's been sitting in the attic for at least 50 years, I would say. And I thought it was so cool. I said, Mom, can I have that? She said, absolutely. So this is going to be my new turkey brine box. So Papa, thank you for the turkey brine box. I'm going to put it to good use. All right, everybody, how can you have Thanksgiving if you don't have turkey? This right here is about I think it's about a 12 or 14 pound turkey. It's kind of on the smaller side, small to medium. We've been brining this turkey for about 72 hours. And the brine is the secret sauce, if you will, for how I do my turkey. Now, everybody has their own recipe that they like to follow, the ways they like to do things. Here's how I like to do a turkey. I like to brine it for at least 48 hours, preferably 72. The brine is a mixture of just really cold ice water, salt, and a lot of aromatics like apples, onions, star anise, salt, pepper, sugar. You can get all of the recipe in the description. But the idea is that you're going to let this sit in the brine for a few hours, hopefully a couple days, and it's going to infuse all of that flavor and all of that salt into the meat. And you think that it's going to be super salty, but it's not. What's going to end up happening is this is going to be the juiciest bird you've ever had. Turkey is notorious for being really dry because everything cooks at a different temperature and everything cooks in a different amount of time. We've removed all of those issues by spatchcocking. What does that mean? It means that we cut the backbone out of the turkey, literally. That's what we did. You can use shears, you can use a knife, however you want to do it. It's your kitchen, it's your rules. So I've spatchcocked the turkey. Once you spatchcock it, you push down on it and you listen for the breastbone to break, and then it lays flat just like this. And that brings us to the great spot that we're at now. We get to put a rub on here. So I've made a rub, and you can make the rub however you want. I've got some brown sugar, some salt, pepper, garlic, you name it. And we're going to put it right here on this bird. We're going to season it up real good. And the whole idea here is you don't want any skin showing that doesn't have seasoning on it. So we're going to put a couple herbs on our bird. We're going to start with rosemary. Now, here's the neat thing. You can do this how you want. It's your kitchen, it's your rules. This is just what we like. I like rosemary, and I'm not going to use a ton. But one of the things I like to do when I get it is I like to crunch it up in my fingers, in my hands. It kind of releases a little bit more oil. Anyway, we're going to put a little bit of rosemary right here on our bird. A little bit of thyme. Now, all of these are herbs that we talk about on the regular, herbs that we grow. Thyme is one of those. I love the way it smells. It smells fantastic. Then we're going to add one more of our herbs, and that is sage. And we're not going to add a whole lot, just a little bit. And this sage has been freeze dried, and it's kind of powdered. So a little goes a long way. So you can see it doesn't take much. There's our herbs on our bird. Sage, rosemary, and thyme. It's a pretty good looking bird. We're going to throw the thermometer in this bad boy, put it in the smoker. It'll be done in 4.5, maybe 5 hours. I think it's going to be closer to 4 hours.
My grandmother, Juanita, was my best friend. And she went home to heaven a few years back, and I miss her every day, but especially during the holidays. And this was a recipe that she made for every holiday. Now, you would never find this particular recipe at her house unless it was a holiday. It was a special occasion dish only. And so in her honor, I continue the tradition, and we are making 7-layer salad today. Now, if you Google 7-layer salad, you are going to find millions of variations, literally millions. It seems like every granny has their own version of 7-layer salad. There is no right or wrong way to make this, but I'm going to show you my sweet grandmother's personal version. And this is the one I grew up eating, and it's the one I feed my family. And it's so simple, okay? So we're literally going to make 7 layers. And this beautiful crystal bowl belonged to my grandmother. And this was her 7-layer salad bowl. She always put her 7-layer salad in this particular bowl. And so every year for Thanksgiving, I make a 7-layer salad in her crystal bowl, and it makes me feel like she's with us for the holidays. So I have prepped our ingredients to make this so simple, and remember, all the measurements and specifics are in the recipe pack, which is linked for you in the description. But our first ingredient, obviously, for a salad is lettuce. So you're going to want to use either like an iceberg or romaine, whatever your favorite lettuce is. I'm using romaine. And this is a beautiful romaine lettuce. Now, the rule with a 7-layer salad is you don't mix the layers. We're going to assemble this 1 layer at a time. So this is the order my grandmother did it in. We start with lettuce. Our second layer is going to be boiled egg. So this is 4 boiled eggs that I chopped up, and we're just going to spread those right on top of the lettuce. And that is our second layer. And I think the reason that my grandmother always made this in this beautiful crystal bowl is so you could kind of see the layers, and it's just really beautiful. Okay, so we have lettuce, boiled eggs, and then I have 2 chopped tomatoes. Now, you can use fresh tomatoes if you've got them, or you can use like canned diced tomatoes. Those will work too. Just a little bit of tomato to give some color and some brightness. There you go. So we have lettuce, eggs, tomato. Our next layer is half of a red onion, or maybe a whole one, depending on the size. I had a great big one, so we just went with a half. We're going to spread that over the tomatoes. So you see, we're just building the layers here. So simple. Okay, the next ingredient is absolutely non-negotiable because this is what makes this salad incredible. And it sounds weird, but frozen peas. Okay, we're going to put in about 2 cups of frozen peas, and we're not defrosting them first. We want them frozen, and that's going to kind of chill our salad, and you can break them up if you have any chunks. But frozen peas, and by the time we serve this, they will be thawed, and they'll be perfect. And then on top of the peas, we're going to do a little bit of sharp cheddar cheese, and you want to grate it up really fine or shred it up. And I really love a sharp cheddar for this. That's what my grandmother used, but you could totally use anything you like. Colby Jack, Gouda, anything like that. I think the sharpness of cheddar just works in the salad. Okay. Next layer after the cheese, crispy bacon. So this is a pound of bacon that I cut up and I fried and got it good and crispy. And so we're going to spread a little bit of it over the top, but I'm not going to use it all. I'm going to use about half. And the reason for that is I like to put a little bit of it on top just because it makes it kind of pretty. All right, so there's our layers, okay? The next thing we've got to do is make the dressing, and the dressing is very specific. My grandmother always made this very specific dressing. So we are going to get a mixing bowl, and we're going to start with some mayonnaise. Remember, all the measurements are in the recipe pack for you. But some mayonnaise, and we're going to combine a little bit of mayonnaise and a little bit of sour cream. And that is going to be the base. And then to that, we're going to add just a few tablespoons of sugar. And that might sound like a very strange combo, mayonnaise, sour cream, and sugar. I promise you, you got to try it. You just got to try it. So before we add the sugar, I'm going to go in with a whisk and combine my mayonnaise and my sour cream. And then we'll add in a little sugar. So for your sugar, you can measure with your heart here. I usually do 3 or 4 tablespoons, but it's totally up to you. You could also sub honey if you would like to, and that would be totally fine. But something about the sugar combined with the creaminess, it like develops into this perfect tangy dressing, and it just goes like the little bit of sweetness combined with that bacon and the sweet peas and the sharpness of the cheddar. Oh my gosh, y'all. I'm getting hungry already. So 7-layer salad, not something that every family has for Thanksgiving, but my family will never have Thanksgiving without it because it's like a staple in this family. So we're just going to pour this all over the top, and we want it to completely cover so you don't see anything except dressing over the top. Give it a little smooth out across the top there. That looks great. This is going to be good. Everybody in my family loves the salad, but I don't know if anybody loves it more than Josh. He loves the salad. His dad really likes it a lot too. All right, now on top of the dressing, I'm going to add the rest of that crumbled bacon. Remember, I wanted a little bit for presentation, just to make it pretty. And then the last thing, and this is totally optional because technically this would make it 8 layers, but I'm going to add some chives just because they're beautiful. And I feel like this makes it look a little more festive for the holidays. So I've got just a little bundle of chives right there that I cut up. And that is it. That is how we make the most beautiful 7-layer salad. Now, from here, what we're going to do is I'm going to cover it up, loosely tint it with foil, and we're going to put it in the refrigerator. We want to let this salad chill for at least 2 or 3 hours before we serve it. So we're going to get it in there and let it chill, and then we'll scoop it up with dinner tonight. You can't have Thanksgiving without green beans, but when it comes to green beans, there are a few rules, okay? And you don't have to follow these rules, but in my kitchen, these are the green bean rules. Number 1, we are not using store-bought canned green beans. I don't care what you say, they're gross. We're using homegrown. Green beans are one of those things that I just refuse to compromise on. They are so easy to grow, so why not grow your own? So we are going to be using 2 quarts of my homegrown and canned green beans, and we're going to drain the liquid off. This is important. That's the next rule, because I see people all the time dump their canned green beans with the liquid. You're going to get a better flavor if you strain it off. So we're going to do our green beans, and then we're going to add bone broth. Now, this is the trick to good flavor in your green beans. Homemade bone broth if you've got it. If you don't, store-bought will do. But we'll add a quart of that for our liquid, a little bit of garlic, a little salt and pepper, and then here is the must-have. When you're making green beans, you want some country ham. Not any old ham will do. You want country ham. It's thin, it's salty, and it is just what green bean heaven is made of. So a pack of country ham. And because we have so many dishes going for Thanksgiving, I always do my green beans in the slow cooker, and they turn out perfectly. So let's strain them out, and we'll put it together. Okay, we've strained the liquid off, so now we're going to dump them in the slow cooker. Now, when you do your green beans like this, you can cook them either on low for like 6 to 8 hours, or you could do high for 2 or 3 hours. These are packed in there. I know I did a good job canning when they're hard to get out. That means I packed them in there good. So green beans must be on the Thanksgiving table. And before we were diagnosed with celiac, both of my kids, we always did green bean casserole. So if you're having green bean casserole for Thanksgiving, I'm a little jealous. I love green bean casserole. And I'll tell you the truth, I have not found a gluten-free substitute that makes me happy enough that it's worth the work. So we do green beans and ham now, and it's just fine. But I do miss those crunchy French fried onions, not gonna lie. All right, so here's our bone broth. Look how beautiful that is. This is turkey bone broth, but you could use chicken or whatever kind you like. We're gonna put that whole quart in there. And then we've got our country ham. And no need to be fancy here. You are literally just going to plop it in there. We're going to stir it in a minute. Then we're going to add some salt and pepper and a little bit of garlic. And we're going to have delicious green beans with our dinner. And the ham is pretty salty, so you don't need to go crazy on the salt. We're just going to add maybe a teaspoon just a bit. And then you can do minced garlic, or you can do, I call this jarlic, the kind you buy in the jar at the store. Listen, sometimes for Thanksgiving, you need a few shortcuts, right? Because it's a lot of work to cook a Thanksgiving meal. So there's no shame in using a little jarlic if you need it. All right, so I'm going to take a spoon, and I'm just going to kind of stir this all around. I'm going to pull that ham apart, mix it in with my beans good, and then we're going to get this cooking low and slow until dinner time. And all that ham is going to fill the beans up with flavor. And these are going to be delicious. Now, you can't have Thanksgiving without a platter of deviled eggs. And every year when I make deviled eggs, I think about this one particular holiday when I was a kid. I think it was on Easter. And my grandmother pulled off the greatest prank of all time. She lined up all the boys in the family, all the little cousins, all of the uncles, and even my granddaddy. And she gave them each an egg. And she told them, these are boiled eggs, and the rule is you are going to try to crack these eggs with one hand. So each guy had to put their one hand behind their back, and then they had to figure out how to crack their boiled egg one-handed. And whoever did it fastest would win. And she had some kind of prize. Well, my granddaddy said, challenge accepted. And when she said, ready, set, go, he cracked that egg right on his head. And what he didn't realize is she was pulling a joke, and all of the guys' eggs were raw. And so my poor granddaddy stood there in the yard covered in raw egg, and I have never seen my grandmother cackle harder. And to this day, it is one of my favorite memories from childhood. I loved her joking spirit and the way she could always pull off a good prank. So this year, when you make your deviled eggs, I hope you'll have a little chuckle thinking of my funny little grandma out in the backyard making all the guys crack raw eggs on their head just for her own personal entertainment. Enjoy your deviled eggs this Thanksgiving, friends. Something extra special planned this year for our Thanksgiving desserts. This is sort of another little family tradition that started 3 or 4 years ago when we started doing a lot of canning. And so you guys know we grow this massive garden, and we try to grow and preserve as much of our own food as possible. So we have lots of canning rings laying around. And I had this idea a few years ago of what if we used the canning rings as little pie tins, and we made little mini pies. And it turned out so cute. And so now every single year, my daughter and I get together and we make a whole bunch of little mini pies. And they're perfect to serve for Thanksgiving because everybody can get just a tiny little piece of each kind of pie. Or they're beautiful to wrap up and give as gifts. So let's make some mini pies together. You're going to need some canning rings. I like to use the wide mouth. They're just a little bit bigger. But use whatever you've got. And then you're going to need some pie crust. So I made 2 big crusts, and I'm hoping that this will be enough to do quite a few of the mini pies. So let's get some of these rolled out. I've got my handy dandy rolling pin, and we'll build some pies together. So I'm curious what kind of pie you like best. You'll have to tell me in the comments. When I see cherry pie, it always makes me think of my dad. My dad loves cherries. And when I was a kid, at Christmas, he would always love those chocolate-covered cherry candies that you can get at the store. And like they're only out at Christmas time. So anytime I see cherries, it makes me think of my dad. I think he would really like this. And when they come for Thanksgiving next week, I definitely will have to make more of these little mini cherry pies just for him. So we're going to just do a mix. You could totally do pumpkin pie. You could do pecan pie, just whatever filling you like and have on hand. That's what you want to use for this. Our mini pies are finished and ready to go into the oven. So I'm going to cook these at 375 and we're going to start at like 25 minutes, but we're going to keep an eye on them. Give this a try. If you have extra canning rings laying around, you got to try making these mini pies. They are so cute and so fun.